So I wanted to talk about something that I learned. Hopefully, it will help you to quit eating so much junk food. I realized this from psycho-cybernetics, but I learned it the hard way. So I'm gonna hopefully help you bypass learning or quitting junk food the hard way. So first off, if you're using willpower, it doesn't work. Okay, like you're gonna have to use a lot of willpower, obviously, but just using willpower is not gonna work. Okay, so let's start with just how I went about this. I used to be really, really addicted to junk food. Like, not as much as I've heard some people are, but every day I would get home from school, I'd jump into the cookies, I'd jump into those little mini candy bars. Those things got me, bro. I ate like probably 30 a day. That's maybe excessive, but I ate lots. I was like, put chocolate on everything. I was just like that guy. So I watched countless, bro. I can't even tell you how many, countless of hours of videos on like the perfect diet, how to improve your diet, like Jeff Nippard, Hamza, all those guys, like all these like 2 week how to get shredded. I wanted to be jacked and shredded. So I was like watching all these videos, like 2 week dieting hacks and like foods to eat to curb your cravings, and just like those clickbaity stupid videos that don't actually help you at all. So I did end up successfully stopping eating junk food. So basically, how I went about it, I'll tell you how I went about it, and then we'll kind of go over like the science. No Andrew Huberman here, but like I'll just try and get through this, right? So basically, I found some, like, if you just go on YouTube and you search up like low cal desserts and stuff like that, you can just make those low cal desserts if you want. You don't have to. You can just use this other method that I'm going to share. But the point is, when you're using willpower to quit eating junk food, there's no dopamine in that, and your brain only wants to do things that are, like, dopamine's your reward system, right? So if you do something, if you eat the chocolate bar, your dopamine system's like, yes, that's good. Dopamine from chocolate bar, eat more chocolate bar, because it wants more dopamine, because that means you're doing something good. So when you're trying to quit, you're withdrawing that dopamine, and your brain is like, oh, this is not good, we're not getting the dopamine, we need to eat more of those chocolate bars because those gave us dopamine again. So what you want to do, like, since you were a child, there's been dopamine connected to chocolate and candy and ice cream and all these like delicious foods that aren't going to get you ripped, right? So every single time you eat that, it's just dopamine in your brain. You're like, you just think, you're like, it's like you're like, consider yourself a 2 pack a day smoker, right? Even if you don't, like, if you're not addicted to junk foods at that level, consider yourself that, right? Because it's just like, you don't even realize that you have an option. Like, your brain just is like, yes, dopamine, dopamine, dopamine. It just kind of, it blocks your prefrontal cortex, which would actually say, we don't really need that. We don't, like, it's not that important to us. Like, eating that chocolate bar is like, whatever. It's not important, right? So, but your dopamine system has overridden your conscious consideration of the option of eating the ice cream or the junk food or the sugary foods and whatnot, right? So I've successfully detached this dopamine blindfold from eating the junk food and the cake and the candies and the chocolate from my conscious consideration process, right? So what you want to do, remember, quitting, there's no dopamine in quitting, so you can't, like, your brain doesn't want you to quit, right? So what you do is you eat the junk food. Like, this is weird advice, right? But you eat the junk food, but you eat it super mindfully. Like, if your mom offers you a bowl of ice cream after supper for dessert, you fucking take that spoon and you look at like every piece of the ice cream in the spoon, and you're like, that's a massive, like that's a delicious spoonful, and you taste like a bit of it, and you're like a connoisseur would, right? Like if you were a connoisseur of ice cream, that's how you want to fucking eat the ice cream, right? With like the chocolate chips, and you like taste it and you smush it around in your mouth, and you're like, oh my gosh, and you get that, like, you be completely focused on the whole bowl of ice cream or the whole chocolate bar or whatever you're eating. You completely focus on it instead of just eating it while you watch a movie, and just like, like you're paying attention to the movie, or you're paying attention to the YouTube video, and you're just eating it like mindlessly, like it's just going in your mouth, and just you're not even tasting it, you're just getting like 600 extra calories for no fucking reason, right? So what you actually want to do is eat it super mindfully, super mindfully. Like I can't even explain how detailed, how mindfully this is, how you have to fucking eat this. Like this is your only goal in your life right now, is just eating this fucking junk food, right? So once you eat, like once you do this for a while, you realize you have an option of actually eating that, because you've detached the automatic dopamine blindfold, right? Like, so your processing mind, like your conscious, like consideration mind, is like open now, and it realizes like, oh yeah, like we don't have to, because there's no dopamine connected to do it anymore, because it's not like just an automatic process. Like you're a 2 pack a day smoker, you just smoke cigarettes just because that's what you do, you've detached that part by eating completely mindfully. Now that's good and all, but I want to add something that wasn't on my notes. It just came up in my brain right now. Consider yourself, this is another thing from psycho-cybernetics, but create the self-image of yourself of somebody who doesn't eat junk food. So this is an interesting point for me specifically, because when I was a kid, I kind of just thought everybody eats junk food, right? Like it's just a normal part of life, right? Like my parents all ate it. I mean, sometimes like your dad's like, no, I don't want dessert, whatever. Um, but yeah, all your friends are just like, yeah, let's go get ice cream. It's not like even a consideration, right? It's just a thing that everybody does. But then one time around Halloween, I was getting offered chocolate bars from a teacher. She was just like handing out those big boxes of 100. She was just handing out two to every person. And this kid across me was like, no, thank you. And I was like, what? You can just say no to chocolate? Like what? And this was like during the time that I was trying to like get shredded and stuff. And I was like, that's kind of weird. That's kind of crazy. So I was like, ever since that point, I kind of just started trying to picture myself as that guy who would say no to the chocolate. Like when we went to the ice cream store, or when we went and somebody offered me cake at their house, I would be like, oh no, thank you. I'm full. I just had lunch, something like that. No, thank you. I'm not really, I don't really want any. Thanks for offering. And that's actually a thing that you can do. You can actually like have the self image of an athlete, of a shredded bodybuilder, like, no thank you. That's like, just say that. Just say no thank you. I don't want the ice cream. It's fine. Like you have the option. It's insane, right? So once you detach the dopamine, obviously there's still dopamine because it's still delicious ice cream, but you detach the dopamine, you have the self image of an athlete. You just don't want to eat that anymore. You're like, man, chicken and corn and beans is actually a delicious meal. You heat that stuff up, mix it around in a bowl, put a little bit of hot sauce on there. It's delicious. You don't need the coffee crisp bar, because all regular food is just good on its own, and it actually is conducive to your goals of getting shredded and being healthy and having clear ass fucking skin like your boy. So yeah, it's just, yeah, just detach the dopamine by eating it mindfully every single time you have junk food, even when you have the mindset of an athlete. Like when I go to the lake and I eat a s'more, I'm like fully indulging in that s'more completely in my mind. That's the only thing I'm thinking about. So you eat junk food mindfully. Any food you eat food mindfully. and you have the self-image of an athlete. Just visualize yourself as like that guy. Visualize yourself saying no. Visualize yourself in the middle of being offered ice cream and being like, no. Even if it's free, like somebody's like, I'll buy you 2 free scoops at like the best ice cream store in town. You're like, no, thank you. Once you visualize that, it like because your brain doesn't know the difference between real and imaginary. So when you visualize yourself doing that, it actually prepares you for the real thing, right? I think that's all I have to talk about. Yeah, so if you visualize yourself as the athlete who says no to the junk food, and you also detach the dopamine blindfold of just habitually eating, you should be good to go. And I hope I didn't miss anything because I hope this is a pretty valuable video. Um, and I really hope that you can experience what it's like to have no addictions to the junk food like me. I'm completely good. I can I have complete control over my diet. Excuse me. I have complete control over my diet, and that's very, very. I take a lot of pride in that. I understand myself to a good degree, and it's exceptionally fulfilling to have beaten that portion of my life. So I hope that this video helps you to stop binging out on coffee crisps and cookies every day after school. And yeah, have a good day.